Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? You guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only, you guessed it, Turbo Toad token. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know me, I'm super high on this crypto, right? You know me, I love Mr. Turbo. I hold Mr. Turbo myself, and I believe Turbo is going to do very well this cycle. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we can see many people have been doing these meme coin competitions. And I know, I get it, this doesn't mean too much, but it still represents the community, right? It still represents a lot of things, potential. Okay, because community is very important. Having belief is very important when it comes to, meme coins. It's one of the key foundations. Okay, you gotta remember, meme coins ultimately have no real value. Yes, some meme coins, let's just say a couple, a handful, even like just say 10, for example, have some decent value at this point, and Turbo being one of them because of all the collaborations, all the exchanges. The resume looks good, Turbos look good. Obviously, um, Pengu is one that looks fairly solid, and there's a couple meme coins that have a pretty good foundation. But at the end of the day, a meme coin is literally a joke coin. So a community and these types of things are very important. We're not going to be diving into this too much, but we can see, ladies and gentlemen, right from one side we had, I don't even know what it's called, Farcoin versus Mog, Fart 1. We have Sheeb versus, I don't even know this one, Sheeb 1. Popcat versus Turbo, which actually I'm so surprised it was a 53-47. I really don't think Popcat's gonna do anything this cycle. 59 for Doge. Obviously, we won against Doge, which, come on, Doge has, guys, if you guys didn't know, Doge has inflation on it. Okay, the amount of money it's going to take this time around to pump Doge to the same price as last cycle is going to be an extra 50% because of the inflation. Turbo doesn't have that. Turbo does not have that. So that's fantastic. We can see we absolutely smashed it, right? Fart versus Turbo, 65%. And we are in the final, right? We are in the final. We are versus Snack. Snack started to do well there. Brett did pretty good over here too. But in the end, it's Snack versus Turbo. I'm not sure if there's a winner. I know, like I said, at the end of the day, this doesn't mean too much, but it's still always nice to see people engaging, people voting, people just being part of the community. Even in my Discord, I have people spamming Turbo emojis and pictures and stuff, and people are active. People believe in for a good reason, for a good cause. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, when we go to the ranking, we're 187 out of 9,505 active cryptos, 242 million market cap, 35 million volume in the last 24 hours. We can see when we go here, we have been pretty much flatlining with the holders. Very slow growth, but in general, nothing too crazy. We can see over the last month, we are averaging, at least minus 11%. So not the most ideal. In the last 7 days, we are technically break even. And in the last day, we are down over 8%. There have been massive sell-offs, but this should be no surprise considering, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about the weekly candle closes and how important they are in terms of flipping the momentum, right? We talked about how last week I would want to see a weekly candle close right above this, right? At least above the 0.0042. And we never got it. In fact, we got it even lower. Just fundamentally, right? This makes the most amount of sense. We have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high, we have a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? And if this week goes as expected, unless the market makers decide to change something up, then we will most likely print another lower low, right? We are just going to continue to staircase downwards like this. Boop, 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 right? Now, obviously, I know this is not the most ideal for so many people, But listen, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, we do not control the markets, and Turbo needs to really, really break through to the upside. Now, here's the thing. Here's the one positive. This is not a Turbo issue. This is just the whole entire market, right? This is just a whole entire market. We can see we do have some type of support over here. Now, is it necessarily going to hold? I don't think so. I'm still looking for some type of price to go off at least the 0.003132 zone, at least sweeping the September lows of 0.00322. That's what I'm looking for. So probably at least another, let's just say 10% drop is what I expect from Turbo at the bare minimum. And just to show you guys that this is not a Turbo issue, we have some good cryptos like Render being really, really low at 334, right? Look at this big, big drop. Just pretty much last year at one point, it was at 1160. Now it's at 334. Exian is really, really low. I mean, what else? We have Caspa. We know Caspa is a great fundamental coin. It has continued to go to the downside consistently. Ondo's holding a little bit for dear life, but also it's struggling. And, let's just show like two more. ICP is a fairly good one, still struggling for its life. So, like I said, it is not a Turbo issue. It is not a Turbo issue. In fact, Turbo is doing fairly good compared to some of these other coins, because you got to remember, it is a meme coin. And some of the meme coins that we have looked at in the past are just in the dumps, right? They're just in the dumps. Mudang had a 2x pump, I think, over us, right? I don't exactly remember. If we go to something like Mudang, go to market cap, go to all, right? We can see, ladies and gentlemen, okay, it didn't necessarily peak over us, but it is struggling. I know something like Peanut, I'm very confident with Peanut. Right? Boom, 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 boom. Market cap. This thing was almost at 2 billion. It's at 207 million market cap, so it's down pretty much 90%. We're still not down 90%. We're down a good chunk, but we're not down 90%. And I don't remember some of the other ones, but I've shown in the other videos that our ratios are still much better than most meme coins. We are still holding better than a lot of altcoins, right? Altcoins with real utility, real this, real that. And so yeah, at the end of the day, Turbo's still doing good. I still believe in the Toad. My bias has not changed. I still believe there's going to be a cycle. I know every time things get a little bit lower, people are like, no, there's no cycle, there's no cycle. But ladies and gentlemen, we are still on track. Things are just being very, very slow. Things are just dragging out, unfortunately. But that is just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.